So the day has finally dawned. It's arrived after calling each other names and trading barbs for months. The US President Donald Trump and the North Korean leader Kim Jong Un will sit face to face in a historic meeting in Singapore, one that holds far-reaching implications not just for the Korean peninsula but for the entire world. A flurry of activity was seen outside the St. Regis Hotel where Kim Jong Un is staying as his motorcade left the hotel at around 9 p.m. local time last evening. Now, ahead of this meeting, the American president took to Twitter as well as his habit. He said, quote, "The fact that I am having a meeting is a major loss for the US, say the haters and losers. We have our hostages, testing, research and all missile launches have stopped. And these pundits who have called me wrong from the beginning have nothing else they can say. We will be fine," end quote. The North Korean leader Kim Jong Un explored Singapore on Monday night. The leader was spotted walking around the Flower Dome at the Gardens by the Bay with his entourage. Kim was also seen at the Marina Bay Sands. It appeared to be heading up to the Sky Park. His sister Kim Yo-jong was spotted alongside him. Now, the American President Donald Trump had a packed schedule yesterday. He had lunch with Singapore's Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, where he was presented with an early birthday cake. Remember, Trump turns 72 this Thursday. His Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, held a press conference later in the day. He said that sanctions on North Korea will continue until Pyongyang completely gives up its nuclear weapons.
Sanctions will remain until North Korea completely and verifiably eliminates its weapons of mass destruction programs. If diplomacy does not move in the right direction, and we are hopeful that it will continue to do so, those measures will increase. President Trump recognizes Chairman Kim's desire for security and is prepared to ensure that a North Korea free of weapons of mass destruction is also a secure North Korea. There's no shift in the policy. It is the case that we are prepared to make security assurances necessary for the North Koreans to engage in that denuclearization. That is, we're prepared to take actions that will provide them sufficient certainty that they can be comfortable that denuclearization isn't something that ends badly for them. Indeed, just the opposite, that it leads to a brighter, better future for the North Korean people.
Right, and joining me live on the broadcast from Singapore itself is my colleague Ramesh Ramachandran, WION's associate editor, joins us live. Ramesh, so much is happening, so many barbs exchanged, so much has been talked about this meeting and it's finally upon us. But really speaking, give us an idea of how big an event this is before we get into the nitty-gritties of this meeting.
Morning, Aisha. I'm coming to you from very close to the Capella Hotel here in the Sentosa Island in Singapore, which is the venue of the much anticipated meeting, the summit meeting between Donald Trump and Kim Jong Un. If I can ask my video journalist to pan the camera to show you exactly where we are located near the Capella Hotel. So that's the gate of the Capella Hotel you're seeing, where both leaders have arrived, and the meeting will start in 25 minutes from now at 9 a.m. local time. As you mentioned in the earlier report, Aisha, Kim Jong Un went for a sightseeing tour last night, whereas Trump remained closeted with his officials, the inner team, the core team, with Mike Pompeo, Chief of Staff John Kelly, and National Security Advisor John Bolton. So while Kim Jong Un had a night out, Trump remained in the Shangri-La Hotel, not far from where I am at the moment. And both leaders arrived just moments ago for the 9 a.m. handshake, which has been anticipated by many countries around the world, including the host country, Singapore. And the stakes are really, really high, Aisha, because remember, Trump has pulled America out of a number of agreements, including the Obamacare, the healthcare program launched by his predecessor, Barack Obama, the Paris Climate Change Accord, the Iran nuclear deal, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. So this is the moment when Trump can literally tell his critics off by saying, this is how a deal is made. So all eyes on the Trump-Kim meeting. They are going to have a handshake first at 9 a.m. sharp, followed by a one-on-one meeting along with their interpreters and translators, and then an extended discussion with their respective delegations, followed by a working lunch. So we're expecting a joint press statement towards the end of the discussions, but a joint statement is still a long shot. Talks are on as we speak to fine-tune the nitty-gritties.
Absolutely. And you're in the thick of it, Ramesh. You're just meters away from the gate itself of the hotel. You were there for that meeting between the South Korean president and the North Korean leader earlier this year. And it's really been building up from that point on. For Moon Jae-in, this too is a big deal. I mean, Trump likes to call himself the biggest deal maker ever in history. But Moon Jae-in has been strategic, and he's been the linchpin, so to speak, for this meeting even to take place.
Absolutely, Aisha. Remember, Moon Jae-in is the man who did all the heavy lifting. He came to power on the mandate of peace with North Korea, peace on the Korean Peninsula, and that's exactly what he said when he set out in Berlin, when he made that historic speech in July last year, where he outlined the roadmap for peace on the Korean Peninsula, invited Kim Jong Un for talks with him, and how Kim Jong Un reciprocated in kind in his New Year address on the 1st of January this year. And since then, the pace has quickened, momentum has picked up, and we saw, as you mentioned, the Inter-Korean Summit, the third ever in history between Kim Jong Un and Moon Jae-in. So Moon Jae-in is the man to watch out for, and he wanted to be here in Singapore on the margins of the Trump-Kim summit, but he's decided against it. He is in Seoul as we speak, but monitoring very closely the developments here. There's a big pose here for South Korean media. President is here as well. Officials are expected to brief the journalists at the Korean Media Center not far from here. So South Korea is keenly watching minutely all the action taking place here in Singapore, and also on the issue of denuclearization. Remember, that's the key issue from Moon Jae-in's perspective, and he wants to see the momentum carried forward when he meets Kim Jong Un later this year in North Korea.
And it's ironic that he finds a partner in that desire to broker peace in President Donald Trump. Can I also ask you, Ramesh, as we're talking about, building up to this 9 a.m. meeting, you mentioned about last evening the fact that President Trump stayed in to the hotel, and Kim Jong Un decided to step out. Does that also indicate in some ways perhaps what is at stake for both of them? This is definitely already a big win for Kim Jong Un. He's managed to get the U.S. president on the negotiating table with him. That's something that the Kim regime has always desired: legitimacy.
Absolutely, Aisha. Kim Jong Un is 35 years old. Some say he's 34 or 33. But the fact is, he is young, relatively young, as compared to Donald Trump, who turned 72 on Thursday, the 14th of June. So Kim Jong Un is looking or craving for legitimacy. He's craving for world attention and recognition of his power, of his rule as a legitimate ruler of a legitimate country. And he wants the America to remove the sanctions imposed on his country, his government, his regime. And he says he's agreed in principle to denuclearize, but he will do it at a time of his own choosing. He does not want to end up becoming another Muammar Gaddafi of Libya or even a Saddam Hussein of Iraq. So he wants security guarantees from the U.S. North Korea has consistently said they will talk only to the U.S. 2, without preconditions, and 3, they agree to a moratorium or a freeze on nuclear missile tests. And that's exactly what is done in the run-up to the Trump-Kim meeting here. So from North Korea's perspective, he is craving attention and recognition as a nuclear power. Now, that may not be forthcoming. At least it can be a de jure nuclear power, that he can retain nuclear weapons as insurance policy against any American designs, aggression on the Korean Peninsula. So he sees it as a means of deterrence, of defense. But Trump, on the other hand, wants everything done in one go. He's described it as a one shot at history. So he's counting on Kim Jong Un to reciprocate in kind. At the same time, Mike Pompeo is saying that America will persist with sanctions. America will persist with maximum pressure, that America expects complete, verifiable and irreversible denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula.
All right, Ramesh, we'll ask you to, come back to us in a while. We'll let you go for now. There is, of course, a lot of action taking place around you. We want you to, keep a close eye on everything for us. We'll get back to you in a bit. But in the meantime, WION's associate editor spoke with the Indonesian journalist Eriksson in Singapore last evening. Listen in to that conversation.
I have with me Eriksson, an Indonesian journalist living and working in Singapore, to talk about the Trump-Kim summit. Eriksson, thank you for making time to speak to me. Now, what's the Singaporean take on the Trump-Kim summit? How are Singaporeans looking at this crucial meeting?
Yeah. So the Singapore government, I think, is very happy to have the summit in Singapore because it's very good for the image of the Singapore in the international. We know that Singapore is a pretty neutral country and it's very rich, and we can see that everything is very smooth until now. There is no problem in the security and infrastructure, which is we can know that why Singapore is chosen as the host of this event, because the first is the neutrality of the country. They have a diplomatic relationship with both North Korea and the United States of America. And of course the second thing also, because Singapore is famous with the efficiency. They have the infrastructure, which is very important, and the security. And you know that you have the North Korean leader, the very secretive young leader who never traveled until this far. And the Singapore government can be trusted to guard him to come to the country, and also the U.S. president has come here many times. So I think so far until this evening, there's everything doing very well. Today the Prime Minister met with President Trump, and yesterday with Chairman Kim Jong Un, and I can see that the Singapore government is happy, and I think they will also get many journalists come here, and it's good for the tourism also.
And talking about the regional dimension of the Trump-Kim summit, what kind of impact do you foresee or do you anticipate going forward of the Trump-Kim summit on the region per se?
I think if we are speaking from the Southeast Asia, I think there will be not much, because this is about the East Asia. But for the East Asia, it's going to be a very important thing. If we get anything positive tomorrow, it will be a good news for President Moon Jae-in, the South Korean president. Means that the thing that he has been doing for months will show some result, and means the country can go for further engagement rather than containment policy under the previous conservative government. But on the other side, for Japan will be a bit nervous because actually they have their own issue with the North Korea about some abductee that was abducted 20-30 years ago, and the President Trump hasn't really been speaking with Prime Minister Shinzo Abe about this thing. The Japanese government, I think they must try to make sure they get something from this, right?
And China?
And the China government, I think they will be very happy because North Korea has become a very annoying for them last year, and this is a bit we see a smooth step to try to pacify the region, so the Chinese government they don't need to be the Chinese government, they don't need to be so wasting too much time on this little neighbor. It means that if the country want to reform, even it's not a total reform, they'll be happy with them in some economic agreement, and then they can have some exchange also again in the tourism. And if you have the dovish North Korea, not like the previous one, not really dovish, even good news for the Chinese government, as long as they continue to maintain the grip over the North Korean.
And do you see Trump and Kim pulling it off, given their temperamental personalities?
I think we'll see tomorrow, because this is Trump is a very different president. He is a very unique president. We don't have any precedent about the Trump presidency. He doesn't really have a very concrete foreign policy until now. While Kim, we don't know much about him. He's very secretive. For tomorrow, there can be anything can happen. Maybe the best if they can issue some joint statement. Maybe they will end the war tomorrow. That's going to be the best news. I don't think they are going to give up I don't think the North Korea are going to give up the nuclear weapons suddenly and say they are going to denuclearize immediately. But if they can declare end of the war, that's going to be the best news. But possibly there will be nothing much. It will be only a show. They maybe have a press conference and declare, yeah, we are happy to meet, and yeah, after, or maybe the worst thing, the talk is not going to go well. Maybe something happened between Trump and Chairman Kim, and finally they walk off from the room. So anything can happen tomorrow, and we will see how is it.